Welcome to Somebody Asked Me with Janice Case, the podcast where we take questions I've been asked in the past from so many different roles, along with questions you'll ask and we'll ask together to, learn. Along the way, we'll build our capacity to become a community of problem solvers. I'm your host, Janice Case. Let's get to it, shall we? All right. Let's get to it. Welcome to the very first episode ever of Somebody Asked Me with Janice Case. I am so excited that you tuned in for this first episode. And this first episode is going to be fairly brief because this is just about why in the heck I am doing a podcast. You guys, I am so excited because I have been thinking podcast for a long time. And it was this past December when I was sitting at a Fast Your Way to Fat Loss conference as a coach. And I was hearing all these speakers share all this really great information. And I had this epiphany. And the epiphany was maybe this faster way thing has been leading me to something else. So what I mean by that is it wasn't until I started that role that I engaged with social media, doing live videos and that kind of thing. And very quickly, I went from doing live videos, very focused on that specific topic, to a whole wide range of topics as I began to really dig into that medium as a way of communicating with folks. And many of you are the folks that gave me really great feedback on that, really positive vibes, and said, gosh, I want to hear more. And so that seed of the podcast was planted, and finally I am here. Finally, I am ready to make the leap. Here's the deal, you guys. This is all about purpose, right? So for those of you who don't know me, and likely most of you listening right away are people who do, right? Because all podcasts probably start with your family and friends, and you're hoping that they will please listen and then share it with other people. But some of you at this point don't know me. I wear a ton of hats, right? I wear hats like wife and military spouse, mom, educator, author, grandma, friend, life coach, leadership coach, leader, health and wellness coach. The list goes on, and that makes me probably not so different from many of you, right? Many of you, it's Thursday, get to this point in the week and you think, how in the world will I keep all of these plates spinning? But now here I am in my late 40s. And my late 40s have brought with them the increasing desire to make the world a better place. That's just the simple truth of it, right? I know. You're thinking, Janice, I thought you said we were going to have fun. And for some of you, I'm going to insert this may be too corny for you alert, but I promise that if you stick with me, we're going to show that we can be learning alongside each other and having fun. I promise. So here's where it gets too corny for some of you. The truth is this. I have really grown to believe that life can't just be about going through each of life's phases, checking off the milestones, getting all this stuff I can get, and then, climbing into a rocking chair next to a fireplace with my grandkids at my feet and waiting out the rest of my time. It can't be about just that. Instead, I believe that each of us serves a purpose that involves making the world better for someone else, not just ourselves, but looking outward, right? We have it within us to determine the exact nature of that purpose and to build our capacity to act on it. I really believe that. So the thing is, I tie that to my belief that the solution to our community's problems, and you can define community however you define it, right? Maybe for you, it's your neighborhood. It could be the school community where your kids go to school. It could be your church community. It could be your city that you live in. It could be your state. Maybe it's a national community. Maybe you think about community globally. The solutions to all of the struggles at all of those levels lies within each of us, right? And I'm going to be pushing us over time to think way beyond the small community that we kind of situate ourselves in each and every day. But I believe that the solutions rest in each of us. There is no magic them on whom we can rely to solve everything. There just isn't, right? There isn't this magic group of people out there in any role who has the answer to everything and is just going to make it all happen. If that were true, folks, it would have already happened, right? Instead, it's incumbent on each of us to continually make ourselves better so that we can, in turn, be better resources to our friends, our families, our communities, the world, right? The truth is that doesn't happen, though, naturally or by accident. We don't naturally grow ourselves, right? It happens deliberately. It happens through purposeful action. So, I'm starting this podcast because I want to harness my knowledge from a whole host of arenas, right? Education, leadership, parenting, marriage, health and wellness, etc. So many different things to support you in identifying your purpose and in building your capacity to act on it. So my thought is that we're actually going to harness our collective learning and use it to lean into this effort to support our growth so that we can all get out there and be solution finders for our community struggles. So I'm going to be calling on friends and colleagues and experts, whatever it takes, right, to support our learning and to support our work. We're going to share resources that we engage with, books, research, all kinds of stuff, in hopes that that each of us can consider it and integrate that learning into our growth in a way that makes sense to each of us, right? So as you can imagine, I have a whole host of topics I am dying to cover with you guys. I've prioritized them by relevancy and urgency based on the time of year, right? It's February. There are specific things that happen in your lives in February, March, April, right? And so I'm trying to prioritize based on that. So our first season is going to be 12 episodes. That's one episode a week, every week for 12 weeks. Some of them will be very specific in scope, while others are going to be broader. You'll start to get a sense of the variety of topics that we'll cover over the course of this first 12 weeks. And by then, as we get closer to the end of 12 weeks, you're going to be providing the direction for season 2 by sharing your input and questions on my Facebook page, right? Because each week, a new episode is going to be shared via YouTube, and I'll be sharing it on my social media with you, and then asking you to be the driving force and sharing the podcast with the folks in your world to spread the word. Ultimately, then, you also then being, as the audience, the driving force in where we go with the topics. What is most important to you to dig deeper on and learn together around? So before we wrap, 2 last things that I want to share with you. The first is 2 quotes, right? This first quote, I think, is really important because I actually have a memory of this quote from a movie when I was in school. I was a kid in school, so older elementary I remember. And honestly, you guys, I literally remember a scene with an adult and a high school aged-ish boy. And the man was saying this to this young man, right? I don't remember the movie. I don't remember the actors. I don't remember any of the context. So when you look at my podcast notes on my Facebook page, you're going to see that the quote is unknown. Maybe some of you are going to hear this quote and say, oh, Janice, here's where it comes from. That'd be great. I love the source. But here's how it goes. The quote goes like this. The ultimate secret of life is the sheer knowledge of death. For without it, we would not strive to leave our mark upon the earth. Now, since elementary school, when I saw this or heard this quote in this movie, I have remembered it. And I'm 49 years old, so that says a lot because, our memory starts to go. But my point being that it really speaks to me about this work, right? This idea that it has to be about more, as I said in the beginning of this podcast. So that hopefully helps kind of capture that for you. The second is a quote from Bruce Lee, the actor. And I actually just heard it last week in a movie. I was watching the movie Game Changers about plant-based living, which is something that I'm engaging with right now. And the narrator of the movie is a prize MMA fighter, and he's narrating his journey toward moving to a plant-based lifestyle for nutrition purposes. And he quotes Bruce Lee in the beginning as a way for us to understand how he approaches learning. And Bruce Lee says this: research your own experience. Absorb what is useful. Reject what is useless. Add what is specifically your own. So what I love about that as I put this podcast out there to the world is that it really kind of demonstrates I'm not here every week to try to convince you to do anything, right? Instead, I'm here to kind of create a space where we can all harness our collective learning, share it, and then allow each one of us to, as Bruce Lee said again, absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, and then add what is specifically your own. Because the fact is, all of these conversations that we're going to have each week all come back to resting on your unique context. So you're going to take from it what you will, right? Okay, the last thing then is a sneak peek into episode 2, which will come out next week on Thursday. And here it is. So, we're going to jump right into a series of topics that you're going to find beneficial based on their relevance on this time of year. As I said, there's lots of stuff uniquely that happens in our worlds this time of year. For my parents out there, this time of year is all about helping your kiddos navigate next steps in their education, right? Whether your kids are going from elementary to middle, whether they're in middle school and high school and selecting classes and levels of classes, whether they're college seniors waiting on acceptance letters, right? This time of year is when that is happening. So I've got some food for thought on how to support and guide while letting your kids actually take the lead. Kind of scary, right? All right, tune in next week and we'll get to it.